Our 6-man canoe is missing several of these brackets which fit along the side on the inside of the gunnel and hold the hoops for the spray skirt. They're made of fiberglass, slightly flexible. This is an old one I'm using to make the templates. I'm going to be making up a mold to cast some new ones out of fiberglass. And basically I've cut some wood in order to make this mold. Basically I have 2 pieces of plywood, 3/4 inch plywood. I'm going to compress the fiberglass in between the 2 sections, and in order to mold this shape, this gap in here is a 1/4 inch, so the pieces that fit in here are actually 1/4 inch thick pieces, so we need a 1/4 inch gap here and a 1/4 inch gap here. So what I've done, and you'll notice these are on an angle, what I've done is I've cut 2 boards, just pieces of plywood, and I just had this random 2-foot length piece of plywood, so you can make them longer or shorter, however many of these you need to cut. And I've tapered one side at a 45-degree angle, and I'll be placing one here, and the same thing on the other side, and that will make this corner right here. So that's that part of the mold. In order to make the edges, I'm going to just take a couple of strips, and this is 1/8 of an inch thick. So a couple of strips of wood, a little bit wider, so I can cut them off and make them neat. So I'll glue and tack these on here to just sort of give a depth for the top plate to press down. And then for the top plate, I need to make a mold that will make this indentation. So I've taken another piece of wood. On our boat, the inside edge is going to be 3 3/4, and then I have a 45-degree taper here and here. To the outside edges, it's 4 1/4 inches wide. So that piece is actually going to sit just like that. So if I did this right, I'll end up with a molded piece of fiberglass in here that will match this, and then I'll be able to cut lengths in order to make the separate things. So the trick is going to be lining this all up, getting it tacked down and glued down so it doesn't move, and being able to align the top when I bring it down. So I'll probably put a couple of blocks in the corners so that it's centered and won't move around on me. And then I'll show you how I lay out the fiberglass once I do that. Okay, what I've done here is I've nailed and glued these side pieces on. And now in order to get this piece centered and to be able to put this top piece back on the correct spot, I'm going to put this center piece in here with little spacers. These are 1/8 inch thick pieces of wood that fit right in there, and hold it in the middle. And now this is flat for now. Eventually I will be putting the 1/8 inch gap spacers along the sides, which will hold this up high enough to leave room for the fiberglass. But for right now, I want this flat, so when I put this board on top, it'll be flush. So what I'm going to do is drill 4 holes in the corner of this top board, and then I'm going to take some nails, and after I drill these holes, I will drive these into the bottom board through those holes. These holes will be big enough that it'll slip over this nail. And that will help me to center this board with the plate over the middle of this gap that I have for the mold. So I'm going to drill these holes, then hammer in the nails. Then I will put some glue on this sheet, put this board down over the nails, and pick it up with that board on there, and then I'll tack it into place so the glue hardens in place. Okay, so I've drilled the holes, put the nails through to the bottom board. I drew arrows here so that you always know this corner goes there, so you can match it up. Looks like the gap's about right on both ends. And I did put some glue on it when I put the nails in and lifted this up. Drove a couple of small nails in here in order to keep this in place. The glue held it just fine as I lifted it. So now the next step is to give that 1/8 of an inch of thickness for the fiberglass. So I'm going to glue a couple of strips out just a little bit wider so I'll have a nice clean edge when I cut it. Okay, I'm ready to start the layup of the glass. So first I'm going to set into my form. Nice piece of wax paper, a little extra overhanging the edges. Then I'm ready to put in the first layer, and I'm going to use cloth. Try and center it between these ridges that are 1/8 of an inch. Mixing the resin, I'll be using just a yogurt container, some resin and some hardener, 1 pump of each. I'll probably do start off with 2 pumps. I can always mix more if I want. Next, a layer of some glass mat. Okay. A layer of wax paper. Now we line up our arrows. Now we're going to put some weight on this to squeeze it together really tight. Okay, we're ready to pop it open. And if you peel off the wax paper, see, we have our whole sheet here. Now if I put the old one on here, you'll be able to see that we'll need to trim a little off the edges to make it the right length, and then we'll just slice it this way. To make it easier on the final coat of resin, what I've done is used Sun Cure Solar Res. This stuff is UV curing. It only takes about 5 minutes. So I was able to put a little in this cup, brush it on, take it outside, let it set up, and then flip it over and do the other side 5 minutes later and take it outside again, and it's done. Now I'm going to just spray paint these. As you can see, they look pretty much like the original thing, except the originals are white. So I'll be just spray painting it, and it is slightly flexible. And then I'll be drilling holes for screws in the ends. And actually, I'm not real happy with the small single screw, so I will probably put 2 screws in each end to hold it in a little better and not have these stress cracks around the joints. So here they are painted, and I've drilled 2 holes in them. I'm going to use washers, or maybe make a flat piece of stainless steel to hold them on. I think one of the weaknesses with the original is that it's real easy for the screw heads to pull through unless you put a fender washer on. larger than the washers we've been using on our boats. So successful project. Came up with 10 of these from that one mold. You could make it longer if you need more, or you could just repeat the process a few times. Slightly flexible, pretty strong. They look pretty good.